And you've authored a couple of books.
Oh, a long time ago. I haven't had any time for writing lately except judgments.
Well, okay, very good. And you write your own opinions.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all have some help, but
Yeah.
you know, you find time to
I love writing.
Yeah,
That is my very, very favorite thing to do, and I look forward to writing opinions.
Is there any area of substantive law that is, you know, more you're known to embrace, that where your expertise is quite high? When if a case comes in, they're going to say, okay, we have to look to the chief on this one because this is her specialty.
Probably not. I mean, I've done quite a bit of work in certain rights, like free speech rights, and but you know, we get cases from right across the board, and I think I've done work in all of them, even the odd tax case, which when I was in law school I vowed I'd never do, but when I get into them I find them fascinating sometimes.
Sure.
But I'm also very interested in the trial process and evidence, the law of evidence. That's an area I really enjoy.
But you don't have jury trials.
We do.
You do?
But not so many civil.
Not so many. It's criminal.
It's criminal, yeah. We have criminal trials, criminal jury trials. We still have civil jury trials in some provinces, although it's dying out. More and more, it's judge alone. And
yeah, well,
you have a right to it, though.
Right. Well, it's a big deal for us. Although I confess to being biased, I'm a trial lawyer. You know, I'm always out there waving the flag for the Seventh Amendment and our right to trial by jury, because our fear is that the specialists take over, and all of a sudden you have judges who bring their own biases and prejudices to the table, and it can cut both ways.
It does. Well, I'm a big believer in jury trials, actually. As a trial judge, I presided over both criminal and civil jury trials, and I gained a lot of confidence in the wisdom of juries during that period of time.
Sure. You know, in the U.S., there's a big concern right now about educating our students, our young, about our democracy, about the branches of government, civics, our Bill of Rights. In Canada, is there a concern at all about training, teaching that to the young people?
I think more and more there is a concern that we are not doing well enough to teach children and young adults what the nation is all about, the constitutional setup, the role of the legal system, a little more Canadian history. We don't have a lot of civics, my impression is, in our curricula. And so there are a number of people who are starting to write and think about this. It's a personal concern that I have sometimes.
Right.
I think it's very important that people in a democracy understand their basic institutions. In your country, what is the role of Congress? What is the role of the President? What is the role of the Supreme Court? What are the roles of the other courts? What is the basic relationship between all this? And how you put it together and it really works.
Right.
And we need to understand that. Otherwise, we run the risk that people will not appreciate it and allow aspects of the system to become non-functional or downgraded or whatever, or at very least perhaps vote less wisely.
Sure. Well, here at the Chicago Bar Association, we are making civics instruction one of our benchmark activities, and we're in discussions now with Chief Justice, former Associate Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, retired, who has taken up iCivics, as she calls it, trying to make a national program, and we're developing a few models that might involve our libraries as portals, if you will, to distribute the training. Possibly once we have that together, we could coax you into coming back and meeting with her.
I would love to do that. I've talked to Sandra Day O'Connor about that, and I think she's doing great work, and we are looking to some of the efforts in the United States to see how we can we can do better. We had a program which was developed by one of our judges associations, for example. My husband was involved, called You Be the Judge, aimed at high school kids, where there was video programming, and you had to work your way through the computer.
Sure.
What decision would you make? Situations where teenagers, young people, could get involved. And when you worked your way through that program, you really understood a little bit about why you need why you should have the right to counsel, what the role of the judge was, what you might want in a judge, what qualities, and so on. So I think we have to think imaginatively as to how we can get young people to better understand our legal system and our governance system in general.
That's terrific. When you come back and you hear about You Be the Judge programming going on, you'll say, they stole our idea.
Oh, I'd be happy to send you a copy.
Thank you, thank you. Well, we'll take advantage of that. Have you traveled much within the United States?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. What's your favorite part?
Oh, there's so many wonderful parts. I can't say I have a particular favorite. I just like so many parts. I originally came from the West, so I would travel down to Seattle and California, so I sort of fell in love with that. And now that I'm in Ottawa, we go more in the Northeast, Chicago, New York, down to Florida, as all Canadians do in the winter.
Sure.
But there's still big chunks of the United States. I've been in the Midwest and in the West. It's such an amazing and beautiful country.
Do you ice skate to work on that little canal in the wintertime?
No? I try to get out once or twice a winter, though.
Sure.
Along with the American ambassador. It's become de rigueur for the new American ambassador, whoever he may be, to go ice skating on the canal, which is quite an event for us.
Well, there you go. It's such a beautiful city. It's just spectacular. It's just gorgeous. It just really is. How often does the court sit?
We sit 2 weeks a year. A week. 2 weeks a month.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Hello.
2 weeks a month from October through the end of June.
Okay, and the rest of the time, do you sit in Ottawa when you do that?
Yes.
And then, but the rest of the time you can work out of your province offices?
Well, not really. There's a law that says that we have to live within 40 kilometers of the center of the National Capital District. So basically the judges have to live there or have an apartment there, but some have secondary residences in wherever they're from.
Yeah. You know, here in the U.S., of course, in the elections of our political leaders, we've had at various times constitutional crises, or we've had, whether it was during the Nixon administration, constitutional crises. Has your court ever had to deal with something like that, to where it's a national phenomenon or problem, and the court is like meeting on a daily basis with something that is just essential to the core of of your country's democratic values? Have you had to deal with those kind of issues ever?
I don't think anything, is to the equivalent of Bush versus Gore.
Right.
We have never had that sort of issue where we would have to choose between two candidates who was going to be the prime minister. For whatever reason, our constitutional setup is a little bit different. We have a very strong electoral office, and the rules are that they will determine to a certain extent everything. Now, there is judicial review of votes, so it's not inconceivable, I suppose, that it could happen, but it has not. Also, we have a role of the Governor General, who has the first line duty to resolve these disputes if they arise, as to whether the Prime Minister and his government can continue in power. Who should be the Prime Minister in these close calls. So that's the way a parliamentary system of democracy works. So we, the court, tend not to be right in the line of fire when those issues arise.
Right. So you've been a judge now 30 years, am I right?
That's a long time, 89, 89 to 2012
well, not quite.
almost.
Yeah,
We're not quite there.
Yeah, I was thinking 81.
Yeah.
But, in your...
81, yes, 81, I was 81. 89 on the court, yes, a judge 81. On the court. Right. 81, so more than...
Yeah. And it just strikes me, at the risk of being patronizing to you, that you're sharp, you're witty, you're engaged, and I was just wondering, if you were to tell the people from Chicago what it means to be a good judge, what it takes to be a good judge. I mean, what do you think are the essential elements of being a good judge?
Well, you have to have the basic judicial juristic skills. You
Right.
need to be able to, the skills all good lawyers have, take a huge amount of material, sort it out, get down to the nub of the thing, communicate, work with people. Those things you need to have. In addition, I think you need to have a good dose of humility. It's easy to get judgeitis, and
Yeah.
it's a fatal disease in
Yeah.
terms of being an effective judge. And you need to just, it helps to love the law, love writing, love working things out. I think compassion is always an important quality. You need to be able to empathize and understand with the situation of whoever's before you. Doesn't mean you have to cry great tears or anything, but you somehow have to. I came to the view early on after I was appointed that one of the most important things about being a judge was being able to put yourself in the shoes of each of the parties respectively as sort of a methodical exercise. Mm-hmm. This defendant is before me, despicable person, has done bad things, but he wants a break on the sentence or whatever. Right. Well, how would I feel in his situation? So I actually try by an act of imagination to put myself in that person's right. position and see their point of view. And then I would try to do it with the other person's point of view. And out of that comes, I think, a better understanding of what's right and where the balance should go. So this idea of using your imagination like an actor would to inhabit that person's reality, right. just to see where they're coming from, to use the common phrase, I found very useful in being a judge. So I would add to all the qualities that I just listed this quality of imagination.
Well, I appreciate those comments because, within the next 12, to 14 months or whatever, we'll be looking at elections and looking at judges. And, one of the hardest things, I think, for our citizens are trying to identify the qualities that they should be looking for. And I think your comments will be very helpful to some people. We literally get millions of viewers for this program, and so you're going to have a whole bunch of new fans, I think. So when you're not being a judge, how do you spend your free time? Is there a way that you relax? Do you always have to be reading, or do you?
Well, I still read a lot. I've always enjoyed reading, and I try to read, but outside the law, it takes me longer now to get through a novel or whatever, or magazines. But I like reading, I like gardening. We've got a little place out in the country where I like to get away from everything, poke around. And,
sure.
And I used to have a dog, but unfortunately my dog has passed on. So I'm missing that at the moment. But I like cooking. Don't get a lot of time for it, but on the weekends and when I get a few days in the summer or on a holiday, that's what I like to do. I
grilled some vegetables this weekend. I marinated them in a strawberry vinaigrette first. You ought to give that a try.
Thank you, I will.
One last question, if I may, because when you're out there relaxing and that, has technology has changed the world, but I can tell you from a practicing lawyer's perspective, it's dramatically changed my life. I mean, it's like law is 24/7 now. Has the same thing happened to you and sitting judges, you think, with Blackberries and iPads?
Oh yeah, we don't get it's very much harder to get away from it. Yeah. Right. I'm always clicking on early in the morning and last thing at night, and other people are doing the same. Everyone does it. And when you travel, you're always checking in with your Blackberry, and but it's a good thing. I mean, I think it makes the world run better.
Yes, it does. Well, we're going to give you the opportunity to turn it off this afternoon so you can enjoy our fair city. So
I look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us. It's wonderful.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Chief Justice Beverley McLachlin, thank you so much for being with us today and taking the time to share your views about the Supreme Court of Canada. I do hope you enjoy your stay in Chicago. I'm Bob Clifford. Thank you for watching the Chicago Bar Association's Justice and Law Weekly.
Closed captioning for Justice and Law Weekly is provided in part by the Clifford Law Offices in support of quality public television for the Chicago area.